Now, if we put aside the UK for a minute, many experts say the next biggest worry for the EU right now is Italy. In particular, its banks, which are sitting on billions of dollars of bad debts, money that will never be paid back. The EU, especially Germany, is warning Italy not to break EU banking rules by bailing out its banks. But Italy's Prime Minister is in no mood to be lectured. This is a story that could hit us all.
As Italy celebrates the restoration of one of its biggest attractions, the country is facing a colossal task. Its banking system is struggling. Already loaded with a mountain of bad loans, shares have slumped by more than 30% since the Brexit vote. Italy is responsible for around a third of the Eurozone's total debt, and its banks are now the most vulnerable in the EU. According to the Financial Times newspaper, Prime Minister Matteo Renzi has said he will pump billions of dollars into the banking system. He's denied that report, but if he did do that, it would breach new EU rules on how struggling banks should be handled. Those rules were implemented in January. They say private creditors, so that includes bondholders and savers, need to take a hit before the taxpayer can step in to rescue a bank. Europe's regulators fear such an intervention would devastate the credibility of the bloc's new rules. And Italy is not the only country causing a headache for Brussels. Last year, Spain and Portugal failed to bring their budget deficits to within limits set by the EU. That's something that could lead to financial penalties. And as Greece's economy continues to struggle, the EU now faces several threats and is under more pressure than ever before. Charlotte Dubinsky, TRT World.
OK, joining me now from Brussels is Dirk Schoenmaker, a senior fellow at the European economic think tank Bruegel. Dirk, let's just begin with Matteo Renzi. There's a bit of doubt over whether or not he's really committed to this. Do you think he will have to pump hundreds of billions of dollars worth of money into the Italian banks to save them or not?
Yeah, the estimates are about 50 billion. And to write down the bad loans, we need to recapitalize the Italian banking system with some 15 billion in fresh capital, because recapitalized banks can provide new loans to the economy so economic growth can pick up then.
Right, but if he
so
does
that, really needed.
That puts him in conflict with the European Union, doesn't it?
Yeah, but it's also about interpretation of rules. Because according to the bail-in rules, the bondholders should take the first hit, but about 1/3 of the bonds are held by other banks. So if the other banks also take this hit, then the systemic weakness of the banks will go further down. So I would say, yes, we need to apply bail-in, but do it only a little bit, because otherwise we bring the whole Italian banking system down.
Right, okay.
So we can only partially apply the rules.
Right, so the European rules say bondholders, but also savers, depositors, is that right?
Yeah, and so they should all be built in. But I would argue the directive allows for an exemption for systemic reasons. And I think at the moment the Italian banking system has a systemic weakness. So I would say, rather than bailing in these bondholders, we should provide fresh capital by writing down shareholders rather than bondholders.
Do you think Matteo Renzi is desperate to make sure that ordinary savers and depositors are not put upon in this way?
Yeah, I think he will be, because that are all voters. The individual households who keep these bonds. In addition, another part of the bonds are held by the other banks. So I would say that on both sides they can take a little bit of pain, but allowing the full amount will bring Italy further problems.
Now, if you're not in Italy, if you're not an Italian, why should you care about this story? Does it have broader ramifications?
Yes. Because if we look at Spain and Ireland, they restructured and recapitalized the banking system and the bad loans went down. And we have economic growth in Spain and Ireland back. Italy is still not growing. So if you really want economic growth in Italy, which is a large economy in the EU, we need to solve the banking problem.
OK, Dirk Skernmaker, thank you very much for your analysis.